Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. I know it is definitely a bit of a late one, kind of a last minute decision almost for me to go live today. And hopefully everyone is having a fantastic, what day is it? Tuesday? Yeah, fantastic Tuesday. Glad I remembered the day for once. Hopefully you're having a great Tuesday. Let's see what we have here in the chat today so far. We have Catman, we have Carson, Grumpy Grandpa, as well as Kevin, Ben. Let me go down a bit here. Legacy, Moon, Randall, Cruz, and Proxy, as well as everyone else who is in the stream who may not be chatting, or if I missed you and you are chatting, welcome to the stream, Sleeveless. And I don't know how to pronounce your name. Baston? So around there? You know how bad I am with pronouncing names, so that hopefully won't offend you much that I can't pronounce your name. But anyways, let's go over to our main scene, make sure everything's good. We're technically at a 0.5 today because it's at a general thunderstorm risk. But, you know, really, if you go by the SPC, the general thunderstorm risk isn't actually counted as a proper thunderstorm risk there. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about the potential for a major winter storm. We're going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into some of our model data, as well as looking at a bit of a deeper dive into some of our ensembles. We're going to take a look at the probability for impacts, obviously, using the WSSI, Winter Storm Severity Index scale. And, yeah, we'll take a look at some other few things as well. Really going to talk about the trends that we've been seeing and the complex pattern that is setting up. If we don't end up with specific ingredients, the storm's just going to be a big old flop. If we do end up with specific ingredients, this could end up being a extremely memorable blizzard. Actually, it has the potential to be a major blizzard across the eastern coastline of the Carolinas, as well as into Virginia and possibly even into the coastal areas up until Maine and New Brunswick. I'd never lost power. I had it flicker once or twice, but I never completely lost power, which was a big shocker. But we did get the low side of freezing rain. We only got about 1/10 of an inch of ice as opposed to the forecasted almost 1/2 inch of ice. And we ended up with like 2.5 inches of sleet still out there. Sleet is crazy. A lot of sleet. We've been having a blast out there because it's just straight up ice. So it's like perfect conditions for sledding. So it's been a blast so far. However, I am stuck. I really hope I'm not going to lose power anytime soon because we are definitely stuck. The roads are still completely covered. There's no way into downtown from where I am. So I am completely stuck up on a mountain, practically. And not actually, just a big hill. A big hill in Martinsville. Um, but like downtown has already been cleared out decently, and I'm pretty sure 58, which is like our main highway, like 58 and 220 is partially still covered out here, but downtown Martinsville is okay, at least not in my area. Not where I am in downtown Martinsville. It's not the best. So, um, yeah, not able to go to downtown. We might be able to, I think, either tomorrow afternoon or Thursday afternoon. I'm gonna try to go into downtown Thursday afternoon. If that doesn't work out, then I'll just have to postpone some stuff. So, and if I can't go Thursday afternoon, who knows when I'll be able to go? Because honestly, we got this big winter storm potential, and we're probably at least going to see a couple inches out of it across the southern mid-Atlantic. So let's go ahead and dive on into our model data here. We're going to go over to College of DuPage here. Let me go ahead and zoom it out for me. That way I can get this correctly. All right, there we go. Can I zoom in one? Nope. There we go. Just drive in the snow. It's not snow. It's straight up ice. And like I said, we have a big hill that goes down and then up, and then you can get to downtown. So if we try to go down that big hill, we're going to get stuck at the bottom. At one of the last houses I was at, we had the exact same thing. We moved from one house with a huge hill that went up to downtown to another house that had a huge hill that went down and then up to downtown. I don't know how we managed to get unlucky like that, but we did. And a bunch of people, there was like 4 or 5 car pile up on our street with our last house. Because it was just a thin layer of ice and people went down and no cars were able to get up. So we just had a 4 to 5 car pile up. Hasn't happened with this area just yet, but it definitely could. All right, let's get into this very, very, very complex pattern because we have a very complex pattern setting up that allows for this high ceiling, but also a very low floor. So as we go into Friday, Thursday night into Friday, really 2 things you're going to notice. We will have a pretty dang strong subtropical jet stream here across the far southern tier of the country into the Gulf. And this is going to provide a lot of moisture available in the atmosphere, at least if we can have some sort of forcing mechanism. Now, if we don't have a forcing mechanism, then this stuff's just going to go by without much of any issues. You could see here, we do get a little bit of some rain, maybe some flurries here, but there's not a lot of forcing going on here, so it's nothing too crazy. Just isolated flurries Friday night into Saturday morning. Look at this though, Friday evening into Friday night, you'll again see that moisture setting up across the southern tier of the country, but you'll notice something big is brewing. We've got a extremely sharply tilted, positively tilted trough here, which combine that with a strong subtropical jet stream is extremely favorable for a nor'easter. And if we just pull this out just a couple frames here, you'll already be able to see that these two are going to merge. You can already see that jet stream starting to turn more to the northeast. You've got a more sharply tilted, positively tilted trough here. And then by the time we get to Saturday afternoon, this thing is really starting to gear up for a high-end snowstorm. And if we just pull this out here going into Saturday evening. Give me a second. There's a 4-wheeler outside. Somebody's going crazy with that hill right now. It's crazy. But anyways, yeah. You can see how this really starts to turn into almost like a bowling ball trough because of how it merges with our subtropical jet stream here. It merges with it and it just forces it to become a sharply negatively tilted trough there over the southeastern U.S. And once we get into Sunday afternoon, it is all go. Everything is in place for a big time snowstorm. You've got a extremely strong low pressure. You've got a jet stream upwards of 140, 150 knots across the southern end. You have ample moisture because of that subtropical jet stream. And then you also have some northerly flow to help bring in some of that cold air, because obviously with your low pressure, it's going to be rotating like this. So you've got more of that northerly flow here to bring in some of that cold air from the northeastern U.S. too. So you get everything all at once. You get a deepening intense low pressure. You get that blast of cold air from the northeast. You get the moisture from the subtropical jet from the southwest. And you, of course, have that deepening low pressure that's going to provide the amount of forcing to get you a crazy nor'easter in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, maybe even to portions of eastern Georgia, and then all the way back up into southern New Jersey, southern Delaware, and then possibly barely clipping before it goes out to sea, potentially clipping the coastline there of the New England states. And if we go ahead and just show you what this looks like on precipitation type here, there you go. You can see all your ingredients coming together. Again, you have the warm, moist moisture here from the southwest. You have that blast of cold air being brought in with your trough, as well as the cold air being brought in from the northeast. You have that ample amount of forcing being brought in with a negatively tilted trough, and it all just perfectly comes together on the GFS model run here to give you a big-time nor'easter in the southern mid-Atlantic. And then, like I said, maybe a last-second dump in there of snowfall across coastal areas in the New England states before it does go out to the northern Atlantic. Just to show you the snowfall totals, generally what we could be looking at for a high-end scenario. This is an extremely high-end scenario, and I doubt even a high-end scenario would bring 2 feet of snow there. But a high-end scenario would be a pretty good amount of snowfall for the coastal areas in the New England states, and then a bullseye across Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Delaware, maybe even into southern New Jersey there. So pretty big bullseye right in here, and then again, maybe a bit of a last second dump there for the New England states. That's your high end scenario. And obviously also the mountains get some snow out of this because, well, it's the mountains. When you have moisture push up against the mountains, combine that with any type of forcing, and the mountains are typically cold this time of year, you're just going to get a big time snowstorm in the mountains with this type of setup as well. Again, that is like your high-end scenario, maybe even your extremely high-end scenario there. But there's a lot of moving pieces to this. Maybe not as much as our last winter storm, where we had 3 high pressures, a low pressure, and another low pressure, double low pressure, and then that big blast of cold air that also set up across the central U.S. Maybe not that much of moving pieces to this storm, but it's pretty rare for you to get a perfect snowstorm out of this setup, which we did manage to get a perfect phase with our last setup. So you never know. Maybe it could happen again, but we're going to have to watch closely. Again, this is using the vertical velocity 700 millibar. And again, you could see the energy from our positively tilted trough here, the energy from our subtropical jet sitting there across the southeastern U.S., and just a big time no-brainer. When you combine the two, you just get an absolute dump of insane amount of spin and a bunch of energy across a huge chunk of the coastal areas in the eastern U.S. But again, it's pretty difficult for you to get a perfect phase like that with this type of setup. This isn't necessarily a phase with our last storm. It was more of a phase because you had your coastal low pressure like over here, and then you had a big high pressure that was pulling in. So that was more of a timing issue, right? How quick can the cold air come in? If the cold air is late, then a lot of this is going to be rain. If the cold air is early, then a lot of it is going to be a bunch of snow. We ended up being almost on time, maybe a little bit early for that cold air. So of course, as y'all know, taking a look at the snowfall depth here, of course, we got our huge snowstorm across the U.S. over the last couple of days. Still, a lot of us with snow on the ground, but a lot of that is going to be melting over the next few days, maybe with the exception of the northeastern U.S. So again, just taking a look here, even at the 500 vertical velocity, that will also show it pretty well. Again, just a lot of energy from your subtropical jet down here. You can see you've got a high pressure down here too, So that is also going to help with, keeping that subtropical jet going as well. That's going to keep that subtropical jet flowing like this, and also help to keep that trough positively tilted too, just because you've got that high pressure helping to give you more of that kind of ridging flow across the western U.S. So really good setup. It's just a matter of if we can get all of our pieces together. This is honestly like a 9 out of 10 type of Blizzard setup right here. Almost perfection setup. Just perfect, really. It honestly is, because you've got a high pressure again down here helping with that ridging. And then you've got a blast of a positively tilted trough that's very sharply amplified, of course, to the southwest. And then you've got energy from your subtropical jet stream also being helped because of this high pressure in the eastern Pacific. So it really is like a 9 out of 10 type of setup here. It's just a matter of, can all these moving pieces come together, or is it going to be a swing and a miss, which is what we had last time across North Carolina, Virginia. Our medium range models were painting upwards of 9 inches across central NC, and our cold air didn't arrive in time. So our trough swung in, delivered rain, and no snow. We did have, I think, 2 inches in central NC, actually. A last-second blast of cold air, able to give us a last-second amount of snowfall. But it was generally a swing and a miss for much of us in the eastern U.S. with that system. I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago or so. So we'll have to see what happens with this system. It's got probably... No, it definitely does. It has the highest end potential for the eastern U.S. Out of our entire winter season thus far, and probably ever since I don't know, the last time you guys had a blizzard in this area. I think it was like 2022 was the last time we had a good blizzard like this, like what the GFS is portraying in the eastern US. And again, this would be a blizzard. This would be a blizzard if this were to happen. Probably a blizzard across much of these areas that end up with snow would be blizzard conditions, to be honest with you. Wind gusts, this model run upwards of 50 miles an hour in central NC with this particular run. So we'll have to see which way this stuff shifts. It's going to shift. It's not that far out. It is not that far out. From the first few flakes flying across Virginia, we're only about 3 days out. So there's not a lot of room for this to change. But in the weather world, when you have this many pieces that need to come together, there's always going to be an opportunity for things to shift. And of course, always an opportunity for dry air to screw things over. As you know from, some areas in Oklahoma got screwed over from that good snow. Northeastern Arkansas, western Tennessee as well. Few areas got, some dry air pockets. Good chunk of Arkansas. What's the odds this will ride the coast and slam New England like a classic nor'easters? Right now, it seems like the Carolinas are the bullseye. We're not in the range. So normally, what you'll hear some people say is you never want to be in the bullseye 5 to 7 days out. Well, we're not 5 to 7 days out. We're about 4 days out from this really becoming a big snowstorm, really starting to get those ingredients together. So 4 days out, it's not a bad thing to be in the bullseye, which is where the Carolinas are right now, as well as the southern mid-Atlantic. The chance of this riding the coastline is very high. The problem is, I don't think it will ride into the New England states. I believe this will be riding the coastal U.S., so it's going to swing in like this. So I think it will ride the coastline enough to where coastal areas will have a chance for some snowfall, maybe even some isolated snow totals greater than 6 inches, depending how close you are to the coastline and depending how amplified this is. Freaking 967. Why wouldn't that number be in here? 967 millibar hurricane, pretty much. That's an insanely deep low pressure. Thought we left that number back in 2025, man. Nope. So, I wouldn't say the odds are very high for it to ride into the northeastern U.S., but ride the coastline, pretty high. Let's take a look at a different scenario. This is, well, at least a different model run, to be honest with you. Haven't looked at the entirety of this model run. Let's see if it comes together just as well. All right, so I already could tell you we've got our good high pressure back out here, helping with that ridging, helping with the subtropical jet stream. Also maybe a little bit of a low pressure. Nah, that's part of the high pressure still. Yeah, still part of the high pressure there. You got your trough digging in up here. Let's see how it comes together. Not as... Ooh, well, almost as amplified, very close to amplified as the GFS. It might be right there. Yeah, maybe just a little bit less amplified. You know, not as sharp, not as sharp on these contours. The Canadian is a little bit more gradual and then sharp. So maybe not as amplified. Ooh, but it comes together. Oh, not as strong, though. You can see that jet stream maximum 110, 120 knots, whereas the GFS was 120, 125 with this one. GFS was closer to 140. Not as amplified there. And it really follows the same trajectory. So this would be a bullseye in the coastal Carolinas. Not central NC. That would be a, bullseye towards the coastal Carolinas there. Almost actually somehow it is. Do you get like some mixing issues or something? Ah, you do. Haha. You do get a little bit of mixing issues there, coastal areas. That's pretty typical. That's pretty typical, honestly. Not very uncommon. But you can see that's still really a central NC bullseye there with that as well. Not as central as the GFS. See if we take the GFS back here. The GFS was dead central North Carolina with that one. Whereas the Canadian is not as dead central with that. So, yeah, same scenario where all ingredients come together, I'd say perfectly there. All ingredients come together perfectly. You can see all that energy from our trough. Big time energy, also helping pull down that cool air, of course. Energy from our subtropical jet stream down in there. And then it all just comes together perfectly on the GFS and as well as on the Canadian. So absolutely perfect. I wouldn't say that's probably not the utmost high-end scenario there. Like I said, this setup overall is like a 9 out of 10. This type of execution would probably be closer to like a maybe a 7, 8 out of 10. I don't think that would be the complete high end of the snowstorm. I think the GFS shows the complete high end of the snowstorm. Oh, gracious day, is that 3 feet? Oh my goodness, that's almost 4 feet. Okay, whatever, bud. Yeah, sure, I believe that. Let's go take a look at the Euro. I've heard some great things about the 18Z Euro in the community in the last few hours. Let's see. Do we have... Oh, perfect. 700 millibar vorticity with this sucker, too. Love it. And it looks perfect. You've got energy from your subtropical jet stream right in there. Energy from your positively tilted trough. Can we take a look at 500 millibars? Ooh, upper maybe... perfect. Right there. Is your 500 millibar vorticity. And yep, that also looks really, really good. Wouldn't be able to tell you if it's in line with the GFS or the Canadian, but gracious day, sure as heck looks like it. Wow. Sheesh. Sheesh. Yeah, that's got to be right in line with the Canadian and the European. That is a bullseye in Central NC. Again. Oof. What a bullseye right there. And like I said, kind of a last second sweep across the eastern U.S. Eastern Massachusetts would be the winner in this case. Eastern Massachusetts probably would get upwards of 9 inches to a foot, just guessing. Completely guessing on this model run. Depending on if you're using a 10-to-1 ratio or if you're using the other product. Do we have it? We don't have it on this yet. Not there. On College of DuPage. Let's go back to... Actually, I want to go back to a wider view here. Let's just take a look at that 700 vorticity again. Yeah, again, look how quickly that subtropical jet stream also provides the energy, and then you just get that trough to come in. That also helps. I mean, gracious. Yeah, that's another like 9 out of 10 type of setup right there. Only way you could make this better is if your trough was further to the west. If your trough was further to the west, it would eject a little bit quicker. and it would be able to swing into the northeastern U.S. instead of swinging out to sea. It'd be able to swing into the northeastern U.S. That would be probably the only way to make this better. But that's really, really, a really good setup there. Wow, definitely blizzard conditions. 100% right there. For sure, blizzard conditions. Let me go to the northeast. Yeah, definitely blizzard conditions, even on coastal Maine, coastal Massachusetts, maybe even as far inland as southern New York, well inland into the Carolinas, well inland, even into central NC blizzard conditions with that one, with those contours there, very, very close. Eastern NC as well, big time blizzard conditions all along the eastern U.S. with this. Oh, look at that. I didn't even see that. Let's go to the Canadian. Yeah, blizzard conditions there as well. The Euro as well. The Euro AI as well. Okay. The AI GFS as well. I mean, we are locking in a blizzard here. Not as intense with the Euro GFS. Go back to the Euro AI. Did I say the Euro GFS? I almost feel like I did. The AI GFS is what I meant if I said the Euro GFS. But yeah, the AI is not as intense as the normal model runs there. The Canadian, the icon. Okay, spot the outlier moment. Yep, that is a swing and a miss. I did. Yep, going through the models too quick, mix them up. See, that is a swing and a miss right there. You may be saying, well, what happened? In this case, it looks like your trough is actually too slow. It almost looks like your trough is too slow. Something's too slow. Something is too slow here. I feel like that might be your trough. No, your trough is not too slow. Your trough is definitely not as well amplified. It's sharper, but it's not as well amplified, so it doesn't swing. It just doesn't swing as well. It still swings, just doesn't pull in that moisture. What goes on here? What is wrong with you? Yeah. You can see how all the other models, if we compare them, look, negatively tilted, big time swing. GFS, big negative tilt. Canadian, big negative tilt. Icon, positive tilt. So it is a swing and a miss on the Icon model run. You never get... Oh, you are negatively tilted here. Let me see what that looks like. That still doesn't even provide a good snowstorm, even to areas in, in the ocean. Areas in the ocean there. But I would say that's an outlier. Here's the good old nav gem for November 28th for anybody wanting to see that. Gotta love when models aren't updated. I forgot that's only a hurricane model. I'm pretty sure. Alright, let's take a look at the GFS. GEFS ensemble here. I have not looked at this. This is the 18Z. I looked at the 12Z, not the 18. Canadian is a big outlier. That was the Icon that was a big outlier there. Hope it trends more west. This is not going to go further west than the Appalachians. The furthest west this thing goes is the Western Appalachians. That's as far west as this thing goes. This is not going to be a central U.S. snowstorm. I can guarantee it. Definitely looks like an uptrend to me. Definitely is an uptrend. Heck yeah. Woo! Love to see it. Love to see that northwest tick. See, that's how you get a 10 out of 10 setup right there. See that northwest trend? That's how you get a 10 out of 10 snowstorm. Looky there. That is how you go from a 9 to a 10. However, I don't know about that. And then again, notice how if pay attention to northwestern West Virginia there, the Ohio West Virginia border, how even with that northwest tick, you barely move your snowfall totals again because I don't think this is going to go any more west than the Appalachians. A little bit backside snowfall there, almost into Nashville, but not quite. I wouldn't say quite a west trend for that. But you could see the reason why I was doubtful about this a few days ago. I didn't want to talk about it at all. Is because it looked like it was going to be an ocean snowstorm, and then over the last 2 days, watch it. Look at the coastal areas. Just a bit of snowfall for the coastal areas. Snowstorm. Oh, it's gone. Oh, starting to come back. Snowstorm. Ooh, big snowstorm. Ooh, really big snowstorm. Major snowstorm. So, yeah, it looks like we are still uptrending right now, and I think we could continue with that, but you can only uptrend so much. And like I said, this is a very sensitive setup. Just as sensitive as the last setup, which gave us sleet here in the Carolinas. Now, I would be so mad if this somehow turned into a sleet nor'easter, but I think that is actually impossible. I think that is actually impossible, especially with how cold your temperatures are aloft. If we can get a sounding on that, I can show you how cold your temperatures are aloft. That is really, really nice. Another really nice thing is, no matter what, we'll have cold air in place. We don't got to worry about rain, man. No matter what. It has been freezing here already the last couple of days, and no matter what, we're going to have that cold air in place. But it does matter on where this nor'easter forms, because where it forms, it's going to curl warmer temperatures in, because obviously it's taking that moisture from, further south. Another really good thing is, if it is a proper nor'easter like this, obviously if it stays over ocean, it can continue to feed in that moisture, which is why nor'easters are typically some of the biggest blizzards that we get. It's really, really nice, really cool how it works. Really awesome. Nor'easters are probably one of the more complex things that actually happen. They're not as rare as some of these other complex things like a Fujiwara effect from a hurricane. I'm trying to think of anything else. I was going to say an anticyclonic tornado, but those aren't too rare. They are rare, but we typically see a few of them a year. Nor'easters, you typically get one a year if you're lucky. Let me go to, shoot. What was I wanting to look at? Oh, sounding. Temperatures aloft. Haha, remembered it for once. For once, my train of thought came back. Oh, wow, that is awesome. Holy crap. Yo, that is insane. You are freezing cold aloft. Look at that. That's your snow line, freezing line right there. You are freezing cold aloft. Oh my goodness. Definitely no issues with sleet or freezing rain right there. Wow. No issues at all. That is insane. You are probably almost in the negatives. If not, you are actually in the negatives aloft. Really, really, really cold. Typically, this is where we see our problems with sleet. And you can see, oh my goodness, that is impressive. Instead of us warming in the lower level, we actually cool in the lower level, which is crazy. Actually, we do warm a little bit. Never mind, we do warm. My bad. I was reading this wrong. We do warm. You could see this is warming, cooling. No, I'm correct. Yeah. Cooling, warming, cooling. Yeah, I was doing it the wrong way. Cooling, warming, cooling. So we do actually warm a little bit aloft. See, that is where like your sleep problems can be. If you have this where you go cool from the 1000 to the 850 and then warm, and then of course you just start getting cooler because that's how the atmosphere is. The further up you go, the cooler you get. This is our problem typically. Because if you take this and shift it a little bit to the right, what you'll do is you'll cool and then you'll warm back into that non-freezing zone, and then you'll cool again. And that profile, this particular one that I just drew, would be favorable for probably freezing rain. Pretty sure. Pretty sure the thinner the profile, it's either going to be freezing rain or snow. So I'm pretty sure that would favor freezing rain right there. If it's a little bit thicker, like this, like that, I'm pretty sure that is what favors sleet. I'd have to go look at one of the graphics one of my friends sent me. Because, yeah, I didn't really figure that out till this year, to be honest with you. Exactly which one's sleet and freezing rain. And then, of course, all snow is where you stay in the freezing. When you stay to the left of that 0. Less than 32 degrees Fahrenheit, less than the 0 Celsius. It's sleet. That one was sleet. So the thinner it is, the closer it is to sleet. Got it. So this would be freezing rain. And this would be sleet. Okay. Gracious day. Talk about a hodograph, though. Holy crap. 899 surface to 3 kilometer wind shear. Golly. Imagine if we had a tornado threat embedded in this one. That's a lot of wind shear. Look at those winds. Look at the veering. Oh my goodness. Those winds veer such a weird way. You got, oh my word. That is insane veering. You go from almost due southeasterlies to southerlies to southwesterlies to westerlies in like 250 millibars. That is absurdly impressive. That is a rare sight right there. If that was a severe weather threat, yikes. All right, now I want to take a sounding closer to the coastal areas here. Let's see how close it is to snow and rain. Okay, so you're straight up like barely. Okay, so you're pretty much you're warm at the surface. Gracious day, English. You're warm at the surface and then you cool aloft, so you barely have time. That would just melt. That wouldn't accumulate. That would not accumulate. If you are 46 degrees at the surface and cold aloft, you're just going to get snowflakes that don't stick straight up. Now, you do cool later on. Now, look at this sounding. I think this is 6 hours later. Let's see if you cool at the surface. Yep, there you go. Cool. So cold, cold, cold. And then again, there's your problem. See it? Boom, warm. And cold, cold, cold. And you know what's funny? That's typically where we have our capping too with severe weather threats. It seems like that is kind of your area where things are an issue. Dry air, capping inversions, warm noses. About that 700 to 850 millibar tends to be where you have the biggest issues in the atmosphere. It literally does say blizzard. Look at that. Blizzard. Potential hazard type is literally a blizzard. Wow. So very, very impressive setup for sure. I do want to take a look at the National Blend of Models. The other site that I used is down today. Fingers crossed that doesn't last forever. So we're going to be using Weatherwise. Weatherwise, I love Weatherwise, but I absolutely despise the total snowfall color table that they have. Dark blue goes up to like a foot. Like, look at this. Dark blue is a foot of snowfall. Like, how am I supposed to tell the difference? It's hard to tell the difference between blue, 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 and blue. Like, really. This area, I think, is going to be, like, close to a foot, whereas this area, I think, is going to be, like, maybe 4 inches. Oh, see? Look at that. 9 inches over here. And then a foot to 13 inches over here. So at least I was somewhat correct with the second one. But this is the blend of models. So this takes a bunch of models, puts them all together, and then gives you an average number for the total snowfall. And you can see it gives us a really, really good amount of snowfall across much of the Carolinas. And even into especially Delaware and New Jersey. And you can see it also even likes up into the eastern U.S. too. So that is really, really good. That is really, really good. This is definitely a higher end scenario where a lot of these areas end up with 6+ inches of snowfall. Definitely a higher end scenario. And it even actually continues into Maine and then even to New Brunswick, possibly even curving more into Nova Scotia too. That's definitely one of your higher end scenarios as well. For sure. Let's see. Wind gust. That's what I was looking for. See what wind gust we got with this. Okay. Yeah, that's all I need to know. Only a blizzard from, like, South Carolina to Maine. That's all. Actually, it does depend how high these wind gusts are. Are they lower than 40? Okay, that's all I needed to know. Most of them are not lower than 40, so that would probably classify as a blizzard, if not barely not a blizzard in many of these areas. That would be one of the biggest blizzards we've seen. Imagine that. Imagine if we actually had blizzard warnings from, like, south central Maine all the way through here. That would be like one of the biggest blizzards ever. And again, if you look at snowfall totals, you could see where the biggest... Wow, that's a huge chunk. Maybe a ground blizzard in some of these spots, too. Like New Jersey, you guys have about a foot on the ground right now. And by the time this thing comes in, you might have closer to, I don't know, 8 inches. And if you put 50, 55-mile-an-hour wind gusts on top of 8 inches of snowfall, that's a ground blizzard. That's why we had blizzard warnings up in Iowa a few days back. Gracious day, this one buries me. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that buries me. And look at Lucky over here in Raleigh. 15, 16 inches of snow in here. 12 to 15 in my area. Gracious. Yeah, but again, that's the high-end scenario. That is a high-end scenario right there. And then a little bit of good news is there won't be horrifically cold temperatures behind this if we just flop that in the middle. We go through this. You could see the first day, yes, we're going to be horrifically cold. Second day, also horrifically cold. But then after that, we should warm up a little bit. The GFS is not as aggressive with that warm-up as what I thought it was. But we should at least get to above freezing as a high after the first 2 to 3 days of this storm leaving. Whereas, you know, like right now, with the storm we just had, we're like not even getting above freezing most of these days. If we are, it's by like 1-2 degrees. So actually not as good of a warm-up as what I thought it was. This is your apparent temperature, so this may take into account some wind chill. Let's see what that has to say. Yeah. Yo, you gotta be kidding me. Almost -10 over here. Oh my word, -7. Sheesh. Look at that. Oh my goodness. That is probably from enhanced wind gusts. Let's see if there's wind gusts right there. Aha, I told you. Yep, that's from winds. You get winds that really concentrate right in here. Gracious day, y'all. I would be absolutely gracious. Even if it was like 4 inches of snowfall, that would be one of the worst snowstorms in a very long time. Just because of those wind gusts and the temperatures. So, again, I want to stress this. The biggest thing I want to stress is simply... Hold on. Give me a second. Is simply the amount of moving parts that have to come together for this to become a extremely high-end setup. What models portray right now is a, like I said, 9 out of 10 type of setup for a snowstorm. It would be an upper echelon event. And I would be pretty shocked if we stay to that all the way up until day of, which I highly doubt is going to happen. You never know, but it could. But I just doubt it because I feel like there's going to be something that screws up in the atmosphere, and this is going to go from a 9 out of 10 to a 1 out of 10. All right, here's our chance for minor winter storm impacts. That's a level 2 out of 5. Go and switch that map on over. Bring that all the way on out. There you go. As early as Friday night, you start to see some minor impacts across Virginia, North Carolina. Also with the subtropical jet stream back out there in Alabama and Georgia with those few flurries. And then things start to come together Saturday afternoon, and you really start jumping Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. We are already, look at that, that is a 90 to 95% chance of winter storm impacts, level 2 out of 5 minor impacts there already for Saturday evening. And then going into Sunday morning, and it continues there Sunday afternoon, a long duration event, and finally starts to decrease as we go into Monday evening. And then it's gone by the time we get into Tuesday. And now for the Northeast, you could see not nearly as high for the Northeast, but they are painting, once again, the coastal areas. Coastal Massachusetts, most of Connecticut, Rhode Island, coastal New Jersey, much of Delaware, coastal Maryland, coastal Virginia. Those areas definitely painted. Now let's just go ahead and go to a moderate winter storm. That's a 3 out of 5 winter storm here. Who could see a moderate winter storm? You could see this is definitely more biased to the earlier model runs. I would not be shocked if that red area that you see here, I would not be surprised if a lot of that changes to something more like this. Wouldn't shock me whatsoever with the model runs that we've gotten today. Would not surprise me. Maybe not that far west, but about that far west. Maybe just not that far, though. But you could see really sticking in central and especially into eastern NC. And then there's still a good chance across the coastal areas there up into Massachusetts. Still a good chance. Still about a 50% chance in eastern Maine. And then, yeah, you could see some of those. It looks like some of this might be a 70 to 80% chance of a level 2 out of 5 moderate winter storm. Now let's go to the big one, what the title has. A major winter storm. What's the chance for a major winter storm out of this? Well, you can see we are already at a couple pixels of 60%. So that's why I went with saying a possible major winter storm here, because we are already looking at a widespread 40% plus chance of a major winter storm, a 4 out of 5 major winter storm, which the one that we had was a 5 out of 5, the one we just finished covering and talking about. That was a 5 out of 5 extreme winter storm for Boston, upwards of 2 feet in Boston, and then also a 5 out of 5 for the ice storm impacts back in Mississippi into central Tennessee. What's the chance of a 5 out of 5? This would be for all snow. We're not talking about much ice or sleet with this, unless you're in coastal areas. We could get a tiny little accumulation, but nothing that would be very disruptive. What about an extreme winter storm? Almost all snow, 5 out of 5. Not very high, but the fact that it has probabilities already up to 30%. Look at that in Norfolk. Up to a 30% chance of a 5 out of 5 winter storm there. Even a little bit up there into Massachusetts, too. Look at that. Boston. Close to Boston. 20% there. So overall, we are looking at another pretty widespread and likely impactful winter storm, especially if you live in North Carolina and Virginia. But that's what it looks like for now. I don't think, if this does trend northwest, our last winter storm, I said I'd be surprised if it trended north. Well, that thing went to freaking Mars and back. I swear that thing trended so far north. Some models were even showing the heaviest snow up into southern Ontario. And then it did trend back down south into the northeastern US. This one doesn't have a huge opportunity to trend to the northwest. It truly doesn't. Because if it trends more to the northwest, it's going to encounter the mountains, and the mountains will just simply tear it apart. So if we trend too far northwest, it's just going to tear the whole system apart. I think the bigger thing we have to worry about is this not being properly timed with our trough, and we end up with just this thing going out to sea, and we don't end up with much of a snowfall event at all. That's more what I would be worried about. Just simply a mistimed, positively tilted trough. Which is very much possible. But right now, if we take a look at the GFS, there you go. Of course, I accidentally did a sounding in freaking Mexico there. All right, previous runs. You can see we have definitely trended towards a better timing trough right now. You could see horrible, horrible, okay, pretty good, really good, really, 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 really good. Ever since yesterday afternoon, you can see again bad, horrible, 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 okay, pretty good, really good. And then yesterday afternoon, 12Z model run, really good, extremely good. And then we started trending towards a blizzard today. Today's when we've started trending towards a blizzard. You could see that extra energy right on the coastline. If I just show you the difference between 18Z yesterday and now, a lot more energy right along the coastline. Man, that would be a perfect snowstorm. You can't get much better than that. You really can't. Again, you got your high pressure over here, which is causing that ridging. Just like this. Causes your ridging. Your subtropical jet stream. This trough that's negatively tilted also helps bring in cold air from Canada. Helps bring cold air up from the northeast. Energy obviously being absorbed since the low pressure is over ocean. That's also helping with moisture. And because it's so strong, it's also going to be rotating quicker. I mean, that's really, like I said, that's why I said it was a 9 out of 10 setup. Because that type of, even a model run portraying that, even if this doesn't verify, just a model run portraying that at the 5-day time frame, 4-day time frame is impressive. This is Sunday morning. Which we could actually go even to like Saturday night. Nah, Sunday morning is really when it's most impressive. I mean, like, look at that. That millibar is down into the 960s, man. 9 at 68. I mean, that is just extraordinary right there. Chances of Atlanta seeing snow. There's a chance for some flurries for sure, but we're probably not looking at any big accumulations in Atlanta. Really, the main portion of this looks to be across these areas right now. According to our model run trends, it looks to be in here. But, I mean, you never know. It could trend back towards Atlanta. If the trough trends further south, it could trend towards Atlanta. So, I could see this trending a little south or a little north or a little east. Really, any of those directions would be okay. The biggest issue would be if it trends west. If it trends west, that's a problem. Which, hopefully, we've trended as far west as we can. You could see not a big shift. That's very promising. With those two runs, not a big shift at all. That's really, really good. If we keep seeing a west shift, then that's, again, going to push it into the mountains, which will take out all of its moisture and just demolish the system, which is not what we want to do. Well, if you hate snow, it is. And this would definitely be an impactful system, but it wouldn't be like our last major winter storm. Our last major winter storm was very, very impactful. Just simply because it had more ice, freezing rain overall. This would be a less impactful storm in that sense. Yes, it would cause a lot of power outages. Yes, it would cause a lot of disruptions, travel issues. It would definitely cause issues, but it just wouldn't be like it wouldn't be as dangerous as our last one. Which, by the way, our last one so far. The fatality count is to like 70 plus right now. That's probably going to climb further. So at least 70 fatalities from our winter storm, which, I mean, that was just what really made it dangerous. Honestly, like I said, the sleet and the ice made it dangerous, but honestly, probably the deadliest part was the cold after it. That's what made it really deadly. I mean, even look at the temperatures tonight across the board. Even right now, we are still, much of us are right at that, you know, the point where it's dangerous to be outside. Point where it's dangerous to be outside if you're, you know, if you don't have a proper clothing on and you're not frequently going back indoors for heat and you're not being careful. I mean, we're really looking at deadly temperatures even tonight into tomorrow across a huge chunk of the U.S. This is tomorrow morning's temperatures. So I think that's what made it really deadly. That's what made this past winter storm really deadly. But all right, y'all, that's going to be it for this stream. I know it flew by. I know. It's already been an hour. Can you believe it? But I just wanted to hop on here and, you know, get this information out there. That way I can say, you know, at least keep an eye on things, make sure you're staying weather aware, and that way you know who's got the best chance for a snowstorm thus far. I will probably... I may try to have a video out either tomorrow. I may attempt to do a video tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. I want to get a video out one of these days. But yeah, that's going to be about it. I appreciate all the mods from on chat, everybody for being here. I hope y'all have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. Stay safe out there. Definitely stay warm. And if you have any, you know, if there's anybody who you can check on, if you know any elder people, please check on them, because this is a very dangerous time being this cold. Make sure also, like, your grandparents too, your neighbors, just be a little bit more friendly because this is a very dangerous time with these terrible wind chills around and cold temperatures. And yeah, just be more mindful of how cold it is. So please stay safe. Keep an eye on this upcoming signal, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Again, thank you, mods from on chat, and I may see you in a live stream. Not a live stream. I may see you in a video tomorrow. We'll see. But that's about it. Stay safe. Watch the severe weather, and especially the snowfall. Goodbye. stay safe, watch the snowfall, and I'll see you guys in possibly a video tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Tuesday night. Goodbye.